Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. We have, as you can tell, exchanged jackets and gloves for shorts and short sleeve shirts. It's honestly kind of nice. We're here in South Carolina, not very far from where we ended last week's episode. Just happens to be quite warmer. We are in 𝐒𝐚𝐫 National Park. I didn't even know this was a national park. It became a national park in 2003. I was like 14 years old. It's not actually that far from where I'm from, but I will admit it kind of just looks like my backyard, so I don't necessarily know if I'm going to find things that strike me as like, oh my God, I got to photograph this. But you can tell there's this really gorgeous boardwalk here, and we're going to try to capture some of this nice sunset light, maybe some shadows in the trees. And in this episode, we're going to be finding hopefully some more oak trees with Spanish moss on it, some more cypress trees to photograph, and then I don't know what we're going to get up to. You have to stay tuned for that. I'll have to stay tuned for that because I don't really know yet. But for now, let's go see if we can find some shots here and see what we can come up with in a place that most of you probably don't even know about.
Wherever you're going, wherever you're at, don't get stuck while it drags you. Wrapped in the past, wait for summer to fetch you. It's gonna work itself out. When hurt somehow finds us, it comes like a storm, washes up on the beaches, lays on the shores like the candles stop burning, a lighthouse when out in the night. 'Cause I need a place to start, left with a broken.
All right, so we started off the loop shooting a few shots of the boardwalk as the light was peering through. And at this point, I've walked around the whole loop, but I didn't really talk to the camera very much while I was shooting. The reason for that is a lot of this stuff is just so chaotic. It's not easy to find compositions, and I was very hyper-focused on trying to find things to shoot. And I shot a few shots. I actually shot this tree that you see behind me with the boardwalk that I'm standing on right now earlier, and then I probably showed you that shot. So we've come back around in the loop, and the sun has not fully set yet, but as you can tell, there's only just like little bits of light here and there. But something you notice in this frame behind me that you can see that is actually really interesting is that you see that there's this coloration on all the trees. And I believe that's because when the water floods, that's where the top of the water gets to. So what's really cool is being lower when there's no water here, it just looks like this line on all the trees. So I'm kind of waiting as the light fades to use some of that uniform light to take a really long or large pano from left to right, or just trying to get like a very narrow band of trees to use that line that's on them and try to create something captivating. But once again, it's very chaotic. As you can tell from some of the footage, there's just so much stuff. So trying to find a composition that doesn't feel too distracting, that still has that element of symmetry with that line in the trees, and then all the uniform grass on the bottom is difficult. All right, so we got the R5 out and attached the 7200, and then I went to film myself taking that photo with the 7200, but then I ended up liking my composition that I was setting up on my 18-35 here that's on the R7, which is the equivalent of about 28-55. I just really like the 35mm side, and then I also like the ability to zoom to about 55mm and take a nice pano. And I've taken a few different shots. One thing you're going to notice is that the camera is a little bit lower than me, and the reason for that is if I put it right on the plane here, you're going to be able to notice that it breaks through exactly where that line in the trees is that you can see. And that's because this particular image that I'm envisioning, really all the symmetry matters, all the angles matter. And if I bring the camera up and shoot just a little bit down to put that line in the center of the frame, that means that these straight trees are going to basically just be a little bit crooked in the image. So it was really important to get the camera lower so that that plane of this darker part of the tree lines up with the rest of the composition. So I took one just 35 roughly mil shot of the boardwalk, and then I took a shot about 55 mil, but a pano, so I have a little bit more on the left and right, and we can cut out more of the top and the bottom of the frame. And that is basically my composition. I also took one just a little bit further back here and included this tree in the foreground, and also manipulated my aperture to either have it in focus or have it a little bit out of focus. I took both because I didn't know if I was going to like this tree or if it was going to be too distracting because the rest of the trees are all kind of in the distance. Regardless, here's my favorite image from this entire thing. I think it's going to work, but I really am outside of my my comfort zone here, and I'm really trying something a little bit different, but I'm trying to apply all the things that I know how to do. I just don't necessarily know if the atmosphere is nice. I mean, could you imagine fog right here? A little bit of fog would just absolutely sell this exact image that I'm trying to take. But anyways, here's the image. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy it. And I would love to know what you think down below.
wherever you are.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We are currently at this tree here in Charleston, South Carolina, called the angel oak. But before even getting to the tree, this road has captured my eye. And as you can tell, these cars are obviously in the shot. But what happens is when the cars drive by and push all this dust up, the sunset light is pushing these rays of light through the road. And so I'm doing a bit of a dance where I'm going out into the road when there's no cars, trying to get while these rays of sun are coming through as the cars are driving by. But when there's no cars, there's no rays of light. And when there are cars, I can't take the photos. So as you can tell, there's a line of cars coming right now. But there's been a few times where I have gotten a few shots on my 70-200 here. I actually might put the 100-500 in and get more compression and get more depth in this road. But the conditions are just absolutely gorgeous. The tree that I'm going to photograph that I will show you, I don't even know if we're going to get anything just because there's so many people. But this is really nice. Okay, there's no cars coming. Let's see if we can get a shot.
Gave you the straw to drink up the sea. Who gave you the fire to burn down the trees? To be left to the edge, choke all the weeds.
All right, after a lot more dancing, waiting patiently, and having cars come at the exact wrong times, but also needing the cars to make the dust, we switched to the 100-500 to compress the image a little bit more and get a bit of a different perspective. So I've taken a few at about 70 to 100, I've taken a few at like 300 to 400, going all the way down this road and really compressing things and having that kind of like tunnel look. I definitely think we at least got one shot, but it has taken some time just because I have to wait for the cars to come, but also get out of the shot. And basically every time the shot looks good, another car will show up way back here. I'm wondering on the wider shots if I can just Photoshop out the car, but obviously when I'm really zoomed in, the car is way too big. So I'm gonna keep trying to take a few more shots, and we're gonna move on to the tree. I'm pretty sure this shot is just gonna end up being way better than anything I can get at this tree, but we're here for that anyway, so might as well go try to take a shot of that. Here's the shot. Hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think down below.
I need a place to start, left with a broken heart. Love somehow finds you wherever you are. Place yourself, leave it up to no one else. Burn down the bridges and leave them behind. And I don't know why.
All right, as you can tell from the footage, there is a lot of people in here, and I cannot use a tripod in here. So, not only am I gonna put my Photoshop skills to work trying to remove people in whatever image I end up liking the most, but I'm also higher ISO. I'm at like 1600 ISO to try to get f16 while still using a polarizer. And then I'm also trying f4 for some different types of shots with a lower ISO. But most of the shots I'm taking, I'm trying to use some of the branches to frame the image naturally, create that natural window that I typically like in my shots. Just find something unique, but as you can tell, there's no real light left on the tree and all the light is in the sky. So I don't even necessarily know if the light is any good, but we're gonna give it a shot. Regardless, I'll show you my favorite image from here. Here it is.
So the thing about this particular image is I could take a lot of time editing this. So if I hit reset, this is an image that I might like manually increase exposure by 1 and then do a whole bunch of light painting and stuff like that because I like the tree. But the reality is I didn't really get great conditions there, and I think I would be trying to, you know, shine a piece of coal into a diamond, if you will. And I just don't think it's worth that because I'm not getting a lot of natural light on the trees anyways. But I could see myself pushing this edit further than I normally would. Maybe a couple years ago I would have done that. But I just don't manipulate stuff as much as I used to, or, you know, forcibly add light in. Like I could easily see myself painting a bunch of light on these branches and, really creating some dynamics in the image. But I think I kind of want to keep the edit simple just because I wasn't in love with the light while I was there anyways. So that's probably what I'm going to do. So let's do that. All right, so now we've added this little bit of light source. Creates a little bit more dynamics in the image rather than looking too HDR-y. But I still don't... Basically, the challenge here is balancing out the brightest parts of the image, but still being able to see detail in the tree. And that's why I said before that if I really wanted to spend a lot of time on this image, I could manually paint in some of the light here. I just don't think it's worth the time. The image isn't like super stellar or anything. Can I add a Smurf house? Let's find out. Add Smurf houses. Well, perfect. Honestly, that actually works. Weirdly enough, that works. All right. The house is staying in there. I actually think the house is going to go in the video. Screw it. Maybe. No quote me on it, but it's cute.
I am shaking, but I'm alive. I am holding on so tight. I'm a wreck.
All right, it is a new day, even though you can't tell. Considering I'm wearing the same clothes, that's pretty standard for me. But we've come to this really awesome canopy roadway here of these oak trees with Spanish moss hanging off of it. And I would have never found this place if it wasn't for my really good friend's husband. So Corey, thank you for watching this, for making this suggestion. Did a bit of research. There's a couple places here in Charleston that have spots like this, but you have to pay to enter them, and then you gotta, obviously timing is of the essence, and just, I'm not into those kind of places because they really restrict me as a photographer. But here is just a park, and as you can tell, there's some really beautiful oak trees here with some Spanish moss hanging. We're gonna see if we can find a composition as the sun sets. We're hitting golden hour right now, but obviously it gets blocked by some of these trees back here and only shines through for, well, probably another 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes. Let's see what we can come up with here. What a beautiful day, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous here in South Carolina. Couldn't ask for better weather, and just happy to be out here.
I'm a wreck, but I am trying. Can't you see? You're the place I wanna be. You're the face I wanna see. You're the fight that's worth the fight, but that's just me. I don't wanna lose you. I don't wanna lose you.
All right, so we've set up to where the sun is illuminating this side of the trees because it's setting over here. The actual tunnel shot didn't look too great because there wasn't enough sunlight on the other portion of the trees. And I really like the way that these branches are hanging over. I'm kind of creating a tunnel all the way down to these trees. The little added element on top that was really nice is there's a nice little herd of deer right here. They're actually still somewhere back here, haven't been scared off yet. I don't normally photograph deer. They're pretty populated all throughout the United States. But when they come into my composition that I was already trying to shoot, it really adds a nice element to the image. The only problem is while the deer add a great element, the light wasn't on the deer. So you're really working in two different focus points there, where the deer are obviously in the image, you can see them, but they're in shadow most of the time. And then all the light is illuminating and touching like the little bits of the trees and the moss, so it's kind of distracting. I don't know if I got a frame that I'll be able to pull the light on one of the deer and part of the trees so that everything seems in harmony, but I'm gonna try my best. I don't really think this is a portfolio-worthy shot. These conditions aren't great. The light is kind of harsh and hot spotty in some spots. You know what would be really great here? Some fog, but that is probably pretty rare here in South Carolina. But it was nice to get the deer in the shot. That was a really cool element, and I filmed some of that. Anyways, regardless of what turns out, I'm gonna show you at least one of the shots. Here it is. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Hope you're enjoying. Oh, one last thing. I was shooting with a polarizer, even though I was having to boost up the ISO to keep my shutter speed just strong enough so that there's not as much movement in the deer as they're moving around. But that polarizer is crucial to cut out some of those reflections on the foliage. Without it, the foliage just kind of looks too bright, almost wax-like. But with the polarizer, it really brings out the saturation, cuts out those reflections. Highly necessary. Always recommend. You know where to find it down below if you want one for yourself. Good morning, everyone. We have come back to the same row of trees that we were shooting last night for sunrise, and as you can tell, the sun hasn't come up yet. I'm actually probably going to have to wait quite a lot of time before the sun actually touches some of these trees enough to take some photos. But I wanted to get here in case there was any fog. There's like a tiny, the smallest amount happening over there, but not enough to really affect our photos. But like I said, we have to sit here and wait for the light. So I'm going to do that now and enjoy the morning.
Expand across the fields like chrysanthemums in blue. Yes, there is so much to feel, and we're all just taking sides. So work it out, stick it out, work it out. Oh, 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 oh.
All right, the sun has fully come up. We're like almost 2 hours past sunrise, and I don't think this composition worked. Not because of the composition, but the elements in the image, specifically the lighting. As you can tell, there's some nice light hitting some of these trees, but most of the light is all the way off in the distance past the trees. And the problem with that is that means the brightest part of my image is all on the horizon back here hitting these trees in the very back. So when I'm shooting a composition that has all of the trees pointing into that, there's no light on the trees, or it's not bright enough. So I wanted to wait until it started doing this, which is hitting some of these trees here and lighting up some of these earlier trees. But what's happening is it's just not bright enough. Everything past back here is super bright, and all of the trees on that dabbled light is not bright enough. Now, I could go to the other end where the light is and shoot in this direction, going back down the tunnel, which is what I did yesterday. The problem with that is that the sun is right behind me right here and is illuminating all of these trees in this direction. And if I go over there and try to shoot back this way, all of the trees are just gonna be backside illuminated, and there's not gonna be any light on the trees to begin with. So I don't think that's gonna work either. So I don't really think this composition came together, specifically that element of light, but I might have possibly English. I may have gotten a shot this morning, another deer right on that pre-dawn light or early morning light where there was no light hitting the background. And there was just a nice simple composition with a tunnel of trees, and the deer was right in the perfect spot. Maybe one of those moments might work. So that's what I'm probably gonna show you.
And I'm swimming in the dark.
All right, and with that image, I think we're gonna wrap up this episode. I'm pretty sure this is the 4th or 5th shot from this episode. So I hope you enjoyed, and as always, you can like the video if you liked it. Consider subscribing if you loved it. There's gotta be some rainbows out there somewhere. We just gotta go find them. Thanks for being here, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.
How long to hear your breath? How long to hear your sound? I so wish to understand this pain, solitude. Maybe my soul will bring the peace. Will it place me next to you? And the promise is a